We begin this hour with the battle brewing at our southern border and also on Capitol Hill, where the emerging bipartisan border deal is hitting some fresh obstacles. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell telling Republicans behind closed doors that the politics of the issue have been complicated by former President Trump's stance on the agreement, and he no longer supports the deal. The current package ties both programs together, but Republicans are under mounting pressure from some hardliners who say it will not actually slow migration or fix the problem.
This bill represents Senate Republican leadership waging war on House Republican leadership. It's not designed to secure the border, and it won't secure the border.
Well, all this coming as Texas Governor Greg Abbott says his fight is also far from over after the Supreme Court ruled federal border officials can start cutting razor wire installed along the Rio Grande and Nichole Pass. Abbott doubled down by installing more of that wire and is now getting support from fellow Republican governors. Today, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt taking to social media saying Oklahoma stands with Texas, and Florida and Montana's governor also echoing that message. NewsNation's Allie Bradley is live along the southern border with more on this legal fight. Allie.
Yeah, hey, Nichole, we're going to start here in Nichole Pass, where we can tell you that the crossings between the ports of entry have all but dried up there. The river's extremely high there today. They aren't seeing a lot of migrant crossings, but you can see there are riot shields out there. Texas military and Texas DPS are prepared if large groups try to surge across the Rio Grande. Of course, that razor wire is something that they would have to contend with and something that continues to be one of those issues. But when it comes to lawmakers in Texas, they're actually now calling for the Texas National Guard to be federalized. They're calling on the President of the United States to take control of the Texas National Guard. Here is what Representative Castro had to say, saying, quote, Governor Greg Abbott is using the Texas National Guard to obstruct and create chaos at the border. If Abbott is defying yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, POTUS needs to establish sole federal control of the Texas National Guard now. And then we also have Representative Casa also agreeing with Joaquin Castro, saying, quote, if Abbott is defying yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, POTUS needs to establish that control of the Guard. Now, here is the real issue here is that it's not possible, according to the law. The president actually does have the authority to federalize the Texas Army and Air National Guard, but here's the thing. They can't federalize the Texas State Guard. It is considered a state defense force, which is allowed under Title 32 of the U.S. Constitution. Texas isn't the only state that has this either. There are 20 states that have defense forces. And in fact, many of those states are standing with Governor Abbott. Nichole mentioned a few of those, but more than a dozen governors, now 14 of them, have come out in support of Abbott's efforts to secure the border. Lawmakers across the country weighing in on this issue that they feel impacts not only just Texas, but the nation as a whole. Here's what Congressman Chip Roy told NewsNation about it.
I think Governor Abbott ought to go as far as he can to do what is necessary when the federal government is failing, endangering our people, fentanyl pouring in, empowering cartels, criminals getting in, terrorists getting in. We cannot do that. We've got to end it, and we got to end it now.
All right, so when it comes to the State Guard and what's going on down there, some state lawmakers and candidates for State House, Nichole, are now calling for Governor Abbott to double down on strengthening and fortifying the State Guard. Now, when it comes to what's next for Governor Abbott, DHS sent that second letter saying that they want access to Shelby Park, demanding that the state of Texas provide that full access. Now, they have until tomorrow by the end of day, Nichole, to open up that park. The consequences not listed in that letter. So I guess we'll find out what happens if Texas doesn't concede here.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.